Chapter 7 Time and Timeless. Abhidhamma Doctrine's Views Relating to Time. Dive beneath the surface. In the 6 previous chapters, we scratched the surface of Abhidhamma Pitaka. Specifically, I described how I have understood the fundamental postulates of Abhidhamma, such as the 4 ultimate realities. In the next set of chapters, I want to explain how I have used those postulates to hypothesize complex concepts described in Abhidhamma, such as the timeless Nibbana, karma, rebirth, and different planes of existence. To understand the above complex phenomena and to acknowledge, that is to accept the possibility of existence, that phenomena such as karma, rebirth, and planes of existence other than humans, animals, insects, etc. is possible or like to occur, at a minimum, malleability of mind or the openness of mind to new ideas is essential. One example where malleability or the flexibility of mind is essential to understand is understanding the way Abhidhamma has presented what we refer to as time or Kalaya. Since I have used the word malleability of mind several times, let me provide what that term means. The artificial intelligence overview of the term malleability. Malleability of mind or neuroplasticity is the brain's amazing ability to change, adapt, and form new connections throughout life, allowing us to learn, shift focus, and grow from experiences, much like soft clay or metal being shaped. It means our minds aren't fixed, they are flexible, influenced by learning, meditation, and environment, enabling us to develop new skills, shift perspectives, such as from focused details to broad awareness, and build resilience by accepting change. One simple way to explain the meaning of this word with respect to how I want to use that term in this chapter is that one needs to understand that our knowledge is very limited and be open to all ideas that are outside of the grasp of our 5 senses. To emphasize the importance of malleability to understand new concepts, I want to state 2 important quotes on the importance of malleability of mind by 2 great philosophers of our time. First, Socrates. Socrates is famous, "I know that I know nothing." Or the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing, signifies acknowledging by Socrates his own ignorance, prompting his lifelong search for truth through questioning, which remains a cornerstone of wisdom and humility. Then Albert Einstein. Variations of quotes of Einstein's views on mind's malleability are as follows. You can't use an old map to explore the new world. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. In Abhidhamma, there are at least 5 technical terms signifying time. Kala or Kalaya, what we refer to as Kalaya in common language. Kana or Shanaya, what we refer to in common language. Adhan, Samaya, Santiti. Now I want to mention here at this point that in this chapter I will only explain in detail Kala and Kana and simply mention Adhan, Samaya and Santiti. Okay. Kala is what we traditionally refer to as time. Abhidhamma did not recognize time, Kala or Kalaya, as an ultimate reality. That is, Abhidhamma did not treat time at the same level as Chitta, Chetasika, matter or Nibbana. Abhidhamma considered Kala or Kalaya as a mental construct, that is a manifestation or a thinking of our perception. That is a phenomena that we have created in our own minds as opposed to something real. The notion of time is based on continuous flow of dhammas, that is, changes that occur in matter and chittas. That is, the concept of time exists because there is change. In other words, Abhidhamma treated time or khalaya as a dependent variable as opposed to an independent variable. That is, time exists because changes happen as opposed to things change with time.
Khana, or we refer to this as shana, or a moment. On the contrary, as opposed to kala, Abhidhamma used khana or shana extensively. We can interpret shana or khana as a moment or a small fraction, the briefest moment of time. It is also used to mean right occasion or the opportune time. I wonder whether this can be interpreted as follows. Time or kale is what an observer experiences between two moments or two kshanas. So therefore, kala can be highly subjective because it depends on the observer's experience. Adhan is used to mean to stretch length not only of time but also of space as well. In the sense of time, it means long periods such as lifetime or periods such as the cycle of life, birth, and death. I do not want to elaborate on what Abdan means because, number one, right now I don't fully understand what it means. Number two, I don't see the purpose on taking a deep dive on what this means at this point. Then we have Samaya. Samaya is coming together, occasion. In the technical sense, it means the confluence or coming together of conditions or the coming together of appropriate causes. Then finally, we have Santiti, which is a series or continuum or actual experience of what we call now. Again, I am just mentioning this, and if the necessity comes downstream, down the line, to elaborate this further, I will do so. At this point, I think the main idea I wanted to convey to you was the fact that Kala or Kala is not an absolute reality, but it's simply a perception of our mind.
At this point, I want to express my gratitude to Professor Y. Karunadasa because everything I learned about Abhidhamma or Buddhist doctrines, a description of time and the related term, I learned from Professor Karunadasa's book. Professor Y. Karunadasa obtained a first-class Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Ceylon in 1958, a PhD from the University of London in 1963. He served as the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and as the Director of its Postgraduate Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies at the University of Kalaya. He has also served as Bukkyo Dendo Kyokai Visiting Professor of Buddhist Studies at the School of Oriental and African Studies of the University of London, as Distinguished Pneumata Chair Professor at the University of Calgary, and as Tuong Lin Kok Tian Professor, Visiting Professor of the Buddhist Studies at the University of Toronto. In 2005, he was decorated with the title of Sri Lanka Sikhamani by the government of Sri Lanka in recognition of his meritorious service to the country of his birth.
Only if you are more interested about how the Buddhist doctrine addresses the concept of time and space within and outside Abhidhamma, I refer you to chapters 6 and 17 of Professor Karunadasa's book entitled The Theravada Abhidhamma.
Since I was born a Buddhist, I had the habit of comparing what I learned in Buddhism with what I learned in school in physics and engineering. So while I was performing research on this related to this chapter, I had many questions that I wanted to pursue, but which I did not in because I didn't see the relevance of answers to those questions to the primary objective of as to why I am creating these documents. Let me just call them questions to stretch or stretch your imagination or food for thought. Question 1. Does modern science relating to special theory of relativity, which states that speed of light in a vacuum is constant for all observers, challenge the notion that time is an absolute reality? The Buddhist term adhan is used to mean to stretch or length not only of time but also of space as well. In physics, space-time is a mathematical model that combines the three dimension of space and the one dimension of time into a single four-dimensional continuum. Does the concept of time adhan in the Buddhist doctrine has any relevance to space-time in physics? When we studied in calculus, why did we not ever come across dt over dc, where c is the independent variable and t is the dependent variable? Or what would a mathematical model that is dependent on change as opposed to time look like? For example, if dc1 is the change in the state of a variable 1 and dc2 is the change in a state of a variable 2 or a second variable between two defined moments or shunas, what would the development of a model using dc1 over dc2 lead to?
The end. Again, the purpose of this chapter was not to make you an expert on time and timeless, but to convey to you that we need to think different and recognize that whether it is in Abhidhamma or whether it's in modern science, the 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 possibility of the time and timeless, time dependent and timeless phenomena to coexistence has been acknowledged. Thank you.